All right, so we were talking about LinkedIn because I'm obsessed with how bad it is and what it does to people's, like, there's actually some studies about how LinkedIn is depressing for people. And not just because, like, they're searching for a job, but just comparing to there. But what were you saying about LinkedIn?
Oh, I went on there, like, maybe this last year I accidentally became a LinkedIn influencer because I went on there and I just started posting stuff and I didn't actually look at what people were saying, which is a really interesting way to approach a social network. And I was like, AI is dog shit. Why does anybody want this? And that was like a revolutionary thought on LinkedIn.com. I didn't know that at the time. So then, like, people were like, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it's not so good. And now that's like, conventionalism. I saw a poll today that AI polls, like, with the Democrats and Iran as the 3 least popular things in the United States.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's rough out there.
Yeah, I hate it so much. So Ben Collins, CEO of The Onion, and I think both Mike and I called you Tim Onion, like when we were talking about booking you.
Yeah, it's stuck too hard, and now I can't back out of it. Like, that's how people literally call me Tim now, and it's just what a
just because it's your Bluesky handle.
Is it like a Batman Bruce Wayne thing? Like, is Tim different than Ben?
Definitely. Tim is a ruthless businessman who's out for blood, and Ben wants to take a nap really badly all the time.
Well, just tell us who we're talking to. If it switches around. So,
I'll let you know.
Okay. We do have a question for the podcast that is our traditional opening question. So,
and that question, and we come in hot typically. We've had every spectrum, every sort of answer to this question that you can imagine, but it is, when is the last time you were worried about covering your monthly expenses?
Oh, I can very easily tell this story. So I had quit my job because I knew I was going to be fired. This was a couple of years ago. And I didn't have a real plan. I thought I was going to sell a book, but I was just going to burn through all my expenses. And thankfully, I had a partner who was very open to she was just like, we're gonna figure it out, it's gonna be okay. And that was, I think that was, it must have 2023, December of 2023. And I had no real plan. I just couldn't do it anymore. I was working at NBC News, and I saw how things were evolving, and like how you couldn't really cover Elon Musk or Trump in the way that you needed to at that time. And I just saw the writing on the wall, so I put in my notice a couple days before Christmas. And the first thing that my girlfriend did, by the way, was, even though she was allergic to cats, she knew this would make me feel better. And she didn't have any money at all, really. She booked us an hour at the Brooklyn Cat Cafe in the feline leukemia room.
Wow.
And she took a free Benadryl and wore a mask. And that's how we got our cat. We saw Heater in there, and we had a magical experience from then on, where Heater kind of like drove us through the month and a half of unemployment. And then 2 months later, I saw The Onion was for sale, and that's how we kind of stepped on the gas and really went for it.
Okay, so now you need to tell this story. So
okay.
I know you from your days at MSNBC, and of course you were on the election show as well after you went to The Onion. And I remember talking to you because I was going to do a story that I think is still a relevant story about how covering the misinformation like epidemic is like covering a war, like covering the alt-right and the Trump administration is giving reporters like you, because that was your beat, is giving reporters PTSD, like in a real way. And you were very open about that with me. I don't know if you planned to be on the record. I don't know if I'm outing you now.
No, it's fine. I don't know of a person who was on that beat who isn't like really scarred from it. And like, there's two directions you go from there, right? you either just leave entirely. A lot of those people left the news, and the news abandoned them, to be fair. Like the people who covered extremism and disinformation were just serially abandoned by mainstream outlets because they thought it was partisan to report on Nazis, basically, and what they were saying and how they took over pipelines, which we all now know is very obvious. Like there's studies about how Twitter was taken over for ideological reasons and is now turning people who are center right into far right people. If you covered that, you were viewed as a partisan hack at the time, and we were all abandoned by our mainstream outlets. But there were two ways of going about that. You either just stop doing it, the work, which is safer, or you quadruple down. And like the bravest people I know quadrupled down. And they are now people who, cover ICE protests, or a couple of them just wrote a book. My friend Chris Thias just wrote a book about anti-fascists and how they organize. And another one of my friends just wrote a book about a castle owned by VDare, which is like the biggest white supremacist 90s blog there was. But we're all fucked up. Like we all know each other. We're all messed up in our own weird ways. And we all have insane resolve. Like all of us think that we can do anything because covering this stuff, covering the worst people in the world with all the power in the world who end up being the president's best friends, and being abandoned by your institution. Now we know we're kind of all in this together. So like it was a really rough ride, but it gave us the ability to do bigger and better things, like each and every one of us.
So that's the transition I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised personally when you went to The Onion, but do you actually think that was a lateral move? Like, I mean, I guess in some ways CEO is higher up than a beat reporter, but covering the same beat, I should say. Like, do you feel like actually what you're doing now is a continuation of what you were doing when you were covering extremism?
Only because those people wound up taking over the country, I think. I did think when I got it that I was stepping back from it, and then it became abundantly clear as they got power back that the best weapon against fascism is making fun of these people, is satire and poking holes at them because they don't know how to deal with being made fun of. That's always been the problem with fascists throughout the world. It's always the downfall of fascism throughout the world is when they are ritually mocked, they lash out and they do unpredictable, stupid things that make people turn on them. And you're not going to believe this, but that's happening right now. We are effectively in a war in Iran because the Epstein files exist, and he can't escape the fact that the president is, almost certainly at least covering up the biggest pedophilia ring in the history of the world. So, making fun of these people works. It's something that I had to kind of reignite in myself. I didn't think I was going to go back into this game, but I'm also very lucky that I have 15 funny people around me instead of 15 people who are like digging through Nazis' trash trying to find their tax returns or whatever. Because it's a lot easier way to live, definitely.
So you brought up buying The Onion as sort of the end of the answer to the question of when the last time you were worried about your monthly finances. So, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't think that buying a publication would be the thing to turn your fortunes around. I mean, so how quickly did that happen?
Way too fast. It was a lot of so I literally saw The Onion was for sale in Adweek, and I posted on Bluesky, I have $600 who wants to buy The Onion. And my friend Leela, who lives in Chicago, was like, we can't let this thing die or go into the hands of Elon Musk, who has always wanted to own The Onion. He tried to buy it once before, the staff wouldn't let him. Then he picked off individual writers for a thing that never launched called Thud, ironically.
Wow.
So he tried many times to buy it. And I just didn't want him to win this thing. Like he had subsumed too many parts of my life that I liked. So I just went for it. So Leela and I called our friend Danielle, who was like an OG Tumblr person, and I knew that she knew how to like start a thing like this. And and get through it. So we called every person we knew who may know a rich person. And like, it was like 5 degrees of separation in every direction. And then in the middle of that process, we met Jeff Lawson, who had a lot of money. He created this thing called Twilio, which like basically invented mass texting. And he was like, look, I just got activist invested my way out of that company. I have always wanted to own The Onion. I don't know how to run a media company. You guys look like you do. Do you guys want to do this together? And we had a come to Jesus with everybody. We were just like, look, this is the fastest path to saving this thing. And Jeff seems like a reasonable, regular person. And he is, by the way, he's not like a psycho billionaire. He actually tries to do nice things occasionally. He's also not a billionaire. So we went all in, and we decided to sign on the dotted line within I think it was 7 weeks of me posting that I had $600 and we wanted to buy The Onion. So it was just a lot of luck and a lot of knowing that if people in the world had the same feelings about The Onion that I did, that they would come along for the ride, and they have. We are one of the 10 biggest newspapers in the United States now, and we weren't even a newspaper 2 years ago.
So how much money did you pay for The Onion?
Oh, I can't say out loud, but it was not a lot of money. It got eaten alive by private equity. They had cut it down to 9 people, I think, was total was left. We made sure part of the conditions was we would keep all the staff, keep the union, keep everything that was The Onion going, and then build into it, give everybody raises, build it back up. Because I've been at those media companies that got vacuumed up by psychos who just cut everything down and just used the name to sell like shit coins or something. I've been around this and I just didn't want to be that person. I wanted to save The Onion for what it was. So in part because of that, we were able to get like a crazy deal on it that was just not that much money. It was, 1/10,000th of a Warner Brothers discovery. I was
going to say, can you give us a hint? Because I think it's
single millions of dollars.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that is actually the kind of like variable I wanted to know. And then I have to ask also.
Yeah.
Did you get to decide your own salary? Was that part?
Oh yeah, but I don't even make the most of my own company. So I mean, because I don't do as much as some other people. Yes, I did. And but the goal is profitability, and the goal is to get there as soon as possible. And it would be stupid for me to give myself a lot of money. So I'm also in Chicago, where rent's not as much. If you can subsist on bread and beer, which 90% of people do here, it's also not that much money. Yeah. So to live the same lifestyle as New York City, you don't need as much.
I could see having the confidence in the brand, The Onion, and the voice that it represented, and that to me immediately seems like, oh yes, that's something that should exist, something that should be revived if it's down. I feel like having it go to print seems like the less safe option, right? So what gave y'all confidence that going to print was the right move?
It was a big risk, but there were 2 main things. When we bought it, we had this idea we called it the Defector model, like the Defector Plus model. Defector is a website that used to be Deadspin. All the people who got laid off from Deadspin went to this thing called Defector, and they believed enough people liked what they did that they would be able to pay for themselves. So we said, yeah, absolutely. But The Onion it was a newspaper for 30 years. And my personal tie to The Onion was seeing it on the side of the road, and it opened up my world. When I went into Boston I just picked it up on the side of the street, and it was filthy and funny and really good, and nothing else was like it. During the Bush era, and it kind of opened my world politically too. So I wanted to bring that back. There's this contraband element of having an Onion newspaper that is really good. It's like having something that you're not supposed to have.
Samizdat.
And Yeah, there's something to, I don't know what it is. And I think we all just trusted that was the case. And it turns out, by the way, it's just better to read The Onion in print than it is online. We also knew that two things. Like when we took over The Onion, the business model was entirely boner pill ads, like those like insane like foot cream weird shit, like radiating
One weird
backache
trick.
ads, one weird trick ads. And that business model is just not sustainable. We knew it was dying by just looking at the paperwork. And I also knew that the internet was going to get eaten alive pretty soon by bad guys, but just based on what I covered. So I knew there was going to be some sort of like revanchist revival to real world stuff. And thankfully the Onion had an artifact of that. So we just went all in and it worked out. We're lucky in terms of timing, but also, we keep seeing this, people's kids steal our paper to bring it to recess. And that is exactly what we're fucking going for. Like that is it's my dream. So of course it's working. It's working as intended.
So are you a boss? Like, not are you a boss, but like, do you have to like manage people?
Yeah.
And is that something, and how does that, I assume that, as someone who's mainly worked as a journalist most of my life, I've had a couple of incidences or times where I've had to manage people, and the skill set for being a reporter and the skill set for managing others are very different. So, yeah, my experience, sorry, maybe I'm talking about my personality, which works really well with being a writer, does not transfer as well to managing other creatives. So how's that going? Look, I don't want you to say like I'm doing a bad job, but like,
no, I know.
What's the transition?
I know what you're saying. I think luckily, two things. I don't touch like the Onion day-to-day anything. Like their headline process is sacrosanct. We don't touch it at all. 15 writers go into a room. They each bring in about 10 or 12 headlines. They come out with one or two total. So they discard 150 or 160 headlines a day. And then they come out with two or three that are really good. And that's what makes the Onion great, is like that inefficient, like this slog, this very human slog that really drills down to what's important. And the reason I bought it is because I wanted to make that permanent. I wanted to make sure that was not a thing that got touched, especially as everything else got dismantled in American society. So I don't touch that at all. My goal is to like uplift them, and like when they have big ideas, to let them go for it. And I think like where the reason I knew I could kind of do it is I was an editor at the Daily Beast like 10 years ago. And the people I edited were wildly famous people. It was like Taylor Lorenz was her second job, was there. I was the backup editor for Olivia Nuzzi, which is a whole different podcast. Like Joe Cox, who was at 404, who was at 404 now. I was his editor briefly, but I was just like around people with big personalities who were like at the Vanguard or something and like really went for it. And I just kind of let their freak flag fly, which, in some cases maybe I shouldn't have. But I had experience in that. The difference in running a company though is like, you do have to stare at a spreadsheet all day with fucking numbers on it, and that is horrifying. And that is kind of new, other than like doing invoices. That was not part of my job previously. So that's getting up to snuff on that was important and new.
On this bonus edition of Past Due, Ben shares the Onion success story that nobody saw coming and breaks some Onion news you're going to want to hear first.
You won't want to miss this one. Get access to this and every bonus episode at patreon.com/pastdue.
One thing that I think about with the Onion and with sort of humor on the left, it's always seemed like a very important weapon for us, a way that we communicate ideas to each other and seek to sort of dismantle powers through laughing at it. And, from being inside the Onion, how you are right now compared to your experience being outside of it, and the ways that it sort of opened your mind up. Do you think that these days, considering how high the stakes have gotten, is it more difficult to 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 use humor as a weapon these days compared to the places we've been?
I think it's important to have professionals right now.
Mm.
I think it's very easy to make schlocky jokes about everything. I think that's what you see everywhere. And I think like schlocky jokes are sort of the first line of defense as a human being, right? Where it's like, um, people immediately run to Facebook to post the first meme about how they hate the president, and it's never really funny. It's like, yeah. But the funny thing comes a day later, and that's kind of where we are. Is that we take a breath and we're like, how does this actually round out into how this fits into your brain? The thing I always say about the Onion is it's the thing rattling around in your brain for a day that you can't really put your finger on. That's what the Onion headline is that works. I think in general right now, as things get really dismantled by a machine that kind of sucks and a presidency that is actively trying to hurt people, leaning into human stuff, human arts, people in physical places, that's where people are getting real solace. That's where people get their, I don't know, that's where people find their soul again. We've been kind of lucky because we don't use AI in any way. Like our photoshops are done by a guy named Carl, who's right there. And it's not AI. All of our headlines are written by people. And if you try to write an Onion headline in OpenAI or something, or in ChatGPT, it's going to be fucking dog shit. So we are lucky to be zagging at this moment. And that's how people generally view this right now, is like they want stuff done by human beings right now. So we're lucky.
To kind of go back to one of the first things you said there about the process, I know you were a Wonkette fan,
Yeah.
and you just described the thing that I tried to do there all the time, which was what I called second order joke. Like you
Yes.
don't go with the first joke, right? You always go with the next joke. If you have to push yourself beyond, I mean, yes, it's great to be quippy, right? It's great to like be able to like snap out something the instant you see it, but you want for lasting, in order for a joke to last and really land, you're going to want the joke that comes a few days later or a few hours later, whatever. Then not the most obvious one.
Yeah, I mean, peak Wonkette when you were around back then was just like, it was a revelation. There was nothing else like it back then, right? I think of two. I think of two different things. Like there's peak Wonkette with like you and like Jim Newell and all those people, Ken Lane back in the day. That were just
Jason
like,
Lincoln's also.
yes, that incredible, the best 200-word post that you'll ever read in your entire life. And then the other thing, I keep thinking about this because it kind of informs how I kind of start everything when I write it now, is the Onion's Jimmy Carter op-ed called "You People Made Me Give Up My Peanut Farm," which we put out
Yes.
when Trump did the thing. And can I look it up real quick? The start of it is just so funny. And I always think this when I start to write an email now, is like, it's actually not the Peanut Farm one, sorry. It is actually called "I Got What America Needs Right Here." It's from 2008. And it starts, sometimes I'm a little stupid, maybe a little slow in the head. So I'm wondering if you could help me get something straight. If you can help me understand one fucking thing right now, America, and explain to me what the Christ is going on here. Again, this is allegedly by Jimmy Carter. And I think about that every time I start like an email about like when somebody's lost something or whatever. The impact that era of like blogging and writing had on my life is like profound. And again, I was 20 at the time, so of course it is, but it's also really, it was very important to me.
It's interesting to me, like all of the people, well, including you perhaps, like most of the people that were involved in Wonkette at that time have not continued doing comedy. like we all became political journalists. And sometimes I wonder, I mean, I don't know what to think about that, except that I know for me, and it sometimes does feel, as important as comedy is, that for me, it was like the points I was trying to make fell on deaf ears. Like, I don't want to depress anybody.
Well, like,
but it just started like getting through Bush, and then like then Trump won. It was like, this is maybe I'll just try to tell people outright. Like, maybe I'll just like say exactly the thing. But maybe I think that there has to be a level of dedication and belief to doing the zag, I guess, where everyone else is zigging. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
To keep going through the times where it feels like no one is listening. Or maybe y'all are getting the I'm listening feeling. People are listening.
Well, I think that people are listening, right? I mean, the Onion is literally bigger than ever in terms of, we have it's whatever the number is, it's fake because it's from Facebook, but like, we have more impressions, we have billions of impressions a month on our Instagrams and all these things like that. More people know the Onion than ever has. So like, I have no doubt about that. But just to get back to the original point, like, Onion aside, I think what you were describing is just like, you provided me back then a coping mechanism for a world that made no goddamn sense. I was, I was like a senior in high school or something when I started reading Wonka.
God, I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry.
Now I'm just getting depressed. No, it's okay. Like,
and
it's all right.
It was just like, 8 years of lies from the Bush administration about everything. And like, now that's very normal. Like, now they lie almost perfunctory levels of lying. They just do it just to do it. They do it for fun. Back then, they at least had to go in front of people and lie to them. And what I saw from you is, and Wonka at the time, was a soul peering through like this like box, this journalism box, the journalism box that existed for everyone. And you guys were allowed to like punch holes in the box and break out of it and do all these other things. You're still talking about the news, but you're doing it in a way where I was like, oh, there's a person there. And I think that's why people went into the news, because the news started accepting that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's where, for better or for worse in a lot of cases. And I think like when I was a reporter, I was bottling my personality so deeply when I was at NBC, and everyone in my life knew this. Everyone was like, dude, you got to get out of that job. Like, I was walking around with a migraine every day. It was just like, it was terrible, because I had to be like this, like, I had to report on Nazis and go on TV and say anything other than like, they're Nazis. They're behaving like Nazis because they're Nazis. Like, this is like, I had to go in there and be like, well, the far right is bullshit. It was not even real. Like, we all know now they're Nazis, but if I said that on TV, I'd be fired instantly. And I think we're back in this moment of our people's souls are peering through, because you can't not. Like, there is this modicum of freedom that people have in expression, because everything's so fucked up. There's no decorum. There's nothing left. So you may as well say what you really are. I feel freer now as like a person in this job, despite having, all these people have to sit on ramp all day and press approve to all my friends than I did as a reporter at any moment.
Actually, you kind of reframed something for me, which is, I've always thought like, oh, I stopped like trying to do straight comedy because it felt pointless. But you're right. One thing that happened, there was kind of a brief shining moment where it was possible to transition from doing what felt kind of like comedy to doing op-eds, because things got human for a while.
Yeah.
Like, because there was more interest in having a non-default Maureen Dowd, like Times.
Can I tell you something?
Name a Times op-ed person who feels like they need to do both sides, that both sides are equally funny, like, aren't they all weird? And still has like this institutional voice. Like, there has been room for, if you Jim Newell, like, I mean, none of us are making like tons of money or anything.
Yeah.
But
If
like,
you
we've
are,
been
tell
able
me how you're doing it, please. I would love
I
that.
yeah. Well, we're doing this show.
Can
Anyway, go
I
ahead.
tell you something that, like, all on those lines? I was reading this thing at the very end of the Biden era. There was a lot of like people on like lefty columnists doing these mea culpas for some fucking reason that now seem ridiculous, like completely insane. And I was reading a Gail Collins column about things like they asked all these op-ed writers things they regret. And Gail Collins regretted the only cool thing that any New York Times op-ed writer ever did in the history of time, which is every time on first reference in 2008, someone brought up Mitt Romney, she would say, Mitt Romney, the guy who left his dog on the top of the car and then drove to Canada. Every time on first reference, she would write that. And that was the sickest fucking thing anybody in the news ever did. And she was like, I regret this. And I was like, why the fuck would you regret that? That is so funny. It is so good. And, sorry. And there's no way that didn't come from like you guys, basically.
I broke that story.
Wow, there we go.
Fucking knew
Full
it.
circle.
There you go.
I broke that story at Time, of all places. And I remember because I just wanted to like be like, this is fucking ridiculous. And they made me report it out. So like I called, I guess it was in like Pennsylvania or Massachusetts that they started, obviously. So I called like Massachusetts or like Boston Animal Control and like got a quote.
Wow.
From someone.
Can you tell people
saying,
about this? Because it's like, if people don't
I
know
never
the
heard
story,
this before.
It's okay.
Completely bananas. Yeah.
All right. So in an interview, when I say I broke it, I didn't break it because it was in an interview, right? Like Mitt Romney told people he did an interview. And in the interview, he mentions that it was like I'm a regular guy story. Like that was kind of what I think he was trying to project. That he tells
his favorite
a
meat is
story.
hot dog. Yeah.
Right. He was trying to tell a story where they are going to go on vacation. I think part of it was also like we all got in the car. Sure, I'm worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but we drove someplace for vacation. So his family piles into the station wagon. There's no room for the dog. So ingenious Mitt says, we'll just tie the dog cage to the top of the station wagon. Gets better. Then he's like, and you know what? The dog didn't like it. He had a little accident and on the side of the road, and this is where the Pennsylvania thing right there shows up. On the side of the road, I wound up having to like wash down the car, clear up the little accident that the dog had.
This is like a nice progenitor to the RFK Bear Corpse story, now that I think about it.
So I see this and I'm like, horrified, but because Time made me report it out, I don't, they wouldn't let me do like a straight, this is after I moved to Wonkat to Time, which is that's a weird thing that I did. But I was their blogger, right? So I called like animal control in Massachusetts and told them about it. And she was like, well, I can't say for sure what would happen, but that would definitely be a case that we would want to like stop the car and see to the welfare of the animal. And I was like, and what if it shit itself? Like what if
and then they hosed it down and kept driving. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you think if what you saw was and she was like completely straight about it, just like, well, that would be very much a concerning thing. And then I think it got a little bit lost because like he did say it, so people weren't like all credit to Time magazine. Yeah. But yes, when I say I broke the story, I was the first one to like point out.
You take that Dublin.
I will take it. And yes, you're right. Like I feel like we should mention it still. He still hasn't said he was sorry. He still hasn't.
He won't.
They just
we have to say like
dude.
Kristi Noem has, she did raise the bar as far as like what we can consider animal cruelty. But
that is exactly right. But like, I have no idea what that was all about. Anyways, sorry. Yes. Like the people,
normie columnists.
I have the opposite regrets of people that are in the news. I think like I wish I was more myself when I was constantly having to go on TV and talk to the MSNBC wine moms. I loved them. They were really cool people, and I wish I could be more myself in front of them instead of trying to do this like patina of newsman credibility thing. And I think like I hope you have the same thing where it's just like I just feel I wish I was myself the whole time, and I think a lot of people in the news who stayed at mainstream places regret anytime they let their personality slip. And I think that's evil. And it's fucked up. Yeah.
Mike doesn't have a story like what we could tell about giving up pieces of our personality, I don't think.
Well,
Mike,
no.
Mike, we
you,
can
you were
talk
in
about
television. Yeah, Mike, you did TV.
Yeah, but I got to
My-
do a television show that we named called The New Negroes. We could do whatever we wanted as long as it fit into 20.5 minutes. So no, I didn't have an MSNBC like experience.
Mike, what we can talk about though is kayfabe, which is what this is. It's like
That
there's
is
this
kayfabe.
newsman
That is
kayfabe
kayfabe.
of like I am
I know what that
above
means.
everything. I'm the smartest guy in the world. Yeah, and like yeah, you're just like you exist as a character on the television, and it's not what any living person actually is, unless you're a complete fucking psychopath. Like maybe Wolf Blitzer is, but I don't really know anybody else who has no thoughts or emotions about anything and just
But
like
do
reads the prompt.
do the people who run those networks think that's what their viewers actually want, or are they just too beholden to corporate interests to allow anything else?
I think there's like this weird dance where they know that's not what they want, but they're also getting constantly yelled at by by people who run the ads and things like that it's not profitable unless you're at Fox News, in which case they tell you to lean in as hard as you can until you get to the point of overt white nationalism and then they fire you, I think.
And then you go to
Well,
you go to News
they were-
Nation.
I have a slightly different take on that, which is a systems one, which is that the thing about MSNBC and CNN is they are losing audience so rapidly and are so without power and voice except with a really small group of people, and they feel like they need to please that very small group of people. And my dad is one of them, right? Like, and I know my aunt's a regular Morning Joe watcher, but it is a very specific flavor of Democrat, and it also is people who think of themselves as, I mean, I can't tell you how many times this is like the language that people used coming up to me when I was on MSNBC a lot, which was, I'm a politics junkie, which to me is like a red flag. Like, if you say you're a politics junkie, that tells me you think you're interested in politics and not how people live and the policies that can be enacted to save lives and improve people, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that working at MSNBC,
there's the layer of like gamification on top of it that has nothing to do with like people's material realities at all. And and they're very beholden to it, right? They're very beholden to like, well, we can't appear to be this much of this thing, regardless of what the conversation is, right? It's like if Republicans are like, no one should eat food ever again, and Democrats are like, I think we should eat lunch. Like, you're only allowed on TV if you say like, I think we should have lunch one in every 6 days now, because that's the
that's
Or-
the
the only way
centrist
to-
position now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The other scary part of that too is it seems sort of reflective of the general problem of like the Democratic National Party platform right now, is that it's very concerned with maintaining a certain status quo and not leaning in too far into what people actually want or care about.
My girlfriend's running for Congress, and
her full name is
her name's Kat Abou-Ghazaleh. So if you want to Google that, it takes like 45 minutes to do it. Go right ahead.
You can look for her on Twitter. You can look for Ben on Twitter or Twitter.
Yeah.
Sorry, Blue Sky.
Blue
You can look
Sky.
for Ben on Blue Sky, and he will be linking to her. You can look for her. You can look on Instagram for Cats for Cat, I believe.
Yeah. Yes. That as well. Yeah. There's a lot. She's all over there.
All right.
But like, same deal. Like, we are. She basically decided to run for Congress. Her primary is a week from today. She is either in first or second. We don't really know because the polling's all weird. But she decided to run for Congress because she and I were like, most of our friends in Chicago, or a lot of our friends in Chicago, are trans. And in the couple of months after Kamala's loss, the very first thing, because the people who with the apparatus to go change the conversation in the Democratic Party are effectively Republicans, centrist Democrats who already have a lot of money and are uncomfortable with what they call the groups. And the groups to them were trans people, gay people, black people, anyone that they thought were just like
Palestinians.
definitely Palestinians, which my girlfriend is Palestinian. Anybody who was, screaming at the top of their lungs for people to take them seriously, take the threat seriously of the far right and their personal danger if they get back into power. They just ignored them. And their plan after the election was to ignore them even further. Just like stop talking about them or maybe completely disregard them, throw them into a fucking wood chipper, just get them out of the way so we can be the normal people again who all, drink fucking, whole milk and go to the fucking county fair or whatever. I don't know exactly know what it is, but it was real evil. And the shit that I was hearing like secondhand, because I was going all these places, it's fucking gnarly. I hated it. And Kat was hearing the same stuff. And it's even harder if you're Palestinian to hear that. Because then you're hearing, oh, I have no constituency. I have no one is standing up for me. Trans people, same deal. No one's standing up for me. So what am I supposed to do? So we had this like literal fight or flight moment. We're like, well, we could move to Canada or some shit, abandon this job that I've loved my whole life, like I've always wanted, which was a real thought. Or we could fight. And Kat was like, I'll do it. I think I can do this and I think I can run. And she came to me one day and she's like, I think I'm gonna do it. Like this was in February or late January of last year. And she ran on this unequivocal, like, I will stand up for you. And it was this like craziness. And it's been a crazy year. She ran against an 81-year-old incumbent who pretty much immediately dropped out. And then she's been running against the Chicago machine, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. Like AIPAC hates her and is flooding her race with money. And she still is, it sounds like she's going to win. And it's all grassroots donations. She doesn't have any billionaires. She doesn't have endorsements really, other than like Ro Khanna and the Justice Democrats. Like, and it doesn't matter because like that's what people actually believe in this. People actually believe in human rights and humanitarian causes and not abandoning the poorest and the least looked out for among us. That's what people want. People want a humane society. They don't want this engineering. Like Anna, you were talking about, how people on TV are only allowed to talk about this through the lens of like what can win. You don't know what can win unless you start actually believing in something. I think like the concept of strength has been misconstrued in the Trump era as be as mean as possible, be as vicious as possible. That's not strength. That's just being cruel. Strength is believing in something like firmly. Donald Trump believes firmly he should be the king of everything. And all the other things are sort of secondary. And if you believe firmly in something that's the opposite of that, Zoran did this. Zoran believed firmly that people should be able to live in New York City and not go bankrupt. Like you can win, but you have to do it. This like calculation that we should abandon these groups and these groups and these groups so we can pick off these people who might, who are more likely to vote. You don't know who's more likely to vote. The people who are more likely to vote are the people who believe that they've got to get off their ass and vote for you because you firmly believe that this is where society should go. And I hope she pulls it off. I have no fucking idea. It's the polling's all over the place, but like the fact that nobody knew she was and she's up against all of this stuff and she's almost there. I couldn't be prouder of her person, honestly.
I mean, it sounds like such a contrasting experience to what you had on MSNBC in the belly of the beast, not being able to really even have a true political opinion on that platform versus seeing somebody very close to you being as true as possible to themselves as they can be politically and experiencing some level of success, even if you don't know how it's going to turn out. I mean, does it give you more confidence in, the foundations of what our political system is supposed to be?
Yeah, I think like the success of in the last year of my life has been the hardest year of my life, no question. We had, we tried to buy Infowars and then it was taken away from us. We're still probably going to end up with it. I think, I don't know, but it's been 18 months or something. But like, we were at effectively rock bottom. We didn't think that anybody believed in any amount of like justice or human rights after Trump won again. And in the last year, we found out that actually everybody kind of does, but people have been checked out or disillusioned or angry. And it's kind of been a beautiful thing. Same thing for the Onion. Like we've just been standing on principle left and right here for making human arts, like standing up against the administration with what we write and just doing stupid shit. It's really been helpful. And I all I can recommend is if I could go back in time and do something, it would be I would stop trying to be like a more reliable looking or sounding messenger, or like trying to fit into a box about how people are supposed to look and act and behave. It's a terrible way to live. Believe what you believe, go for it, and like be a decent person, and people will rally around you. I can't stress it enough. There is. I'm not saying this as a business person. I'm not saying this as a person who like believes in politics. I'm saying this as a human being. Like it's the only way to actually live. And people will come to your side because they realize that you actually believe.
You know, there's a connection between what you're talking about and one of the concerns of the show, and I think even what Kat is running on, which is something like you're a great story, I think, for our listeners, because you're a little bit of an exception sometimes to some of the stories we have. I mean, it's tough to say. We have a lot of people who are everyone we talk to is making it work. Everyone we talk to is actively pursuing a creative career. And in my book, that's making it work.
Yeah.
Right? But a lot of folks, when we ask the question, when's the last time you worried about covering your monthly expenses? It's a lot closer than the answer that you gave, right?
Yeah.
They can count it in months, weeks. We've had a couple tell us days, right? And so I think the decision to stand up for to continue pursuing what you believe in is easier to make when you know you have a paycheck.
Definitely true. No question about that. I do not want to diminish that at all.
Right. And I'm not saying like it's easy for you to
also,
say.
I want to say this too. I am a white guy with white guy confidence disease, which is just like, I can do this, fucking who gives a shit? Like there's
Right.
something like ingrained culturally that is very shitty and shouldn't exist. But like I can walk up to another white guy and be like, sir,
give me
let's save
millions
this
of
institution.
dollars. And
Whereas
like,
if you're like, honestly, God, if you're a trans person, they won't even let you work at a fucking factory right now. It is a grim time. And like, it is a completely different experience based on your identity and who you are and your ability to speak out loud. Like it's just, things are very, I don't want to diminish that in any capacity.
I really appreciate you saying that, because I do think that even most well-meaning woke among us can kind of forget. And also because we love you so much, like it's easy for me even to forget, like, oh, what if it had been someone else besides Ben, who's not like a straight white guy, who'd been like, I have $600 and I want to buy the Onion. Like it might not even be something that people would think about as being like, oh, they're not serious, right? But you got taken seriously pretty fast. So, and thank God. Like again,
it's
not
just,
like calling anyone out or anything. It's just a systemic thing. It's just a thing that happens. So,
and it's structurally, it shouldn't be this lottery. Like it shouldn't be this, like, you know, I worked at a fancy place with a good title, and therefore when I go and beg a guy for money to do this thing, he allows us to do it for pretty much precisely how we would like to do it. That's luck.
And I want to bring it back to
that.
Right. I want to bring it back to Kat, actually. And also then just one thing to say is how incredible it is that she's pushed herself to the front of this fight, being a woman, a Palestinian who's running on this platform, right? And I do think it says a lot about people wanting someone who's going to fight. And I have a whole pundity analysis we could do about that, but I'm going to skip over to, I hope we get to talk to her personally about her platforms. But I'm wondering if is something that you are talking about with her, or you can speak to your personal beliefs about this, which is having more progressives making policy is what will enable the creative economy to survive. Like universal basic income, healthcare. And she is someone I know she hates content creator, but do you think like a perspective of being married to a journalist, of coming from that background, like helps shape what kinds of policies people want to see in place?
We're not married yet, as they say.
Oh, sorry.
Marriage is punishment for shoplifting in some countries, but I appreciate this.
Partner.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. But like, no, it's fine. I don't give a shit. Yes, I think it's pivotal because other countries that behave like us and have economies like us and look like us have, by the way, public media that's real. And for example, Canada, 25% of the songs that are on the CBC are Canadian artists at all times. It's like mandated by the thing. Like it is very,
it's all bare naked ladies. It's really weird.
It's yeah, and it's mostly dog shit. Yeah, exactly. Just for some reason, it's playing fucking Broken Social Scene still right now at this hour. But like that is a thing that they do there. They actually uplift the arts. They uplift it. This is not commie dictatorship shit. It's the people directly to the north of us that the rich people go to ski at, right? It is not insane to say that there should be public funding for this that isn't this lottery, that is like mandated by the government to go and, make sure that Mr. Rogers exists like we used to have back in the day, right? It's not nuts. And if we're going to go full like survivalist, independent, there's no such thing as institutions anymore, like so many people seem to want, can't do that unless you can't do that without subsidies, unless you're really into serfdom and feudalism, in which case I'm not really, it's not my kind of thing. So like people simply need a leg up. She's very into, especially starting off, because I think it's the easiest thing you can do. For moms, they just need to be able to be paid for their labor for having kids. Like that's the number one thing. So if you were talking about all this white nationalist bullshit about why people aren't having kids, the reason we're not having kids is because we're fucking broke. We don't need fucking money, just the way it is. And if you were to give people a year after they had kids to make sure that they knew their baby was going to be okay and have food, regardless of the employment status of the mom and dad, like things would just be fine. You could have families, you could grow your family. I think you can get back to that point. But you can also just extend that generally out into the world. The problem with the country that we have right now, the reason people are obsessed with wellness bullshit and conspiracy theories, and the reason that Trump voters are like what they are is because of precarity. Their lives are precarious and they get scared and they get nervous, and that drives them down into like, maybe if I just take more testosterone, I'll be able to be strong enough to go down to the thing, to go down to the factory and beat the shit out of somebody and shake them down for $500 or something. I don't know. But they have, the reason we have the economy we do is because poor people and middle class people are simply afraid of being up against their last paycheck. And if you give people a buffer, I saw this very briefly during the pandemic where people had like a tiny bit of walking around cash, things just work better. Things work smoother. So, and it's not like we don't have the money. We're currently killing a child in Iran right now with a fucking tomahawk. And that costs
billions of dollars,
right.
Billions of dollars a day, like
to nuke a school, right?
You could fund SNAP for a year, like with just what they've spent so far, maybe more than a year, like
on a
crazy
distraction war to cover for a pedophile. So like, I've no doubt you can pull it off. I think we're almost at the point where people realize that we do need to do this. But yeah, Kat is obviously, hopefully leading the way there.
Well, we appreciate your time, and this conversation has been incredibly inspiring. And since this is a show about how creators are navigating this economy, one of the most important things we do is allow our guests, or encourage our guests, to let people know how they can best support you and the things you're doing. I feel like we know where we feel like we know where you're going to point people, but this is a time
Yeah.
where we have our guests do plugs.
Yeah, go to theonion.com, go to membership.theonion.com to get a newspaper in the mail. We have a sale coming up, which is good. If you want something in your mailbox that's not some evil bill collector, and you have some cash, get the Onion in the mail. It's really good. The only ads in it are fake, so and they are more fucked up than ever each month. So I really appreciate that if you can do that. And this is a one-time ask. If you live in Illinois, or if you know anybody who lives in Illinois, from the north side of Chicago to Evanston to Skokie, all the way out to Algonquin, they probably live in the 9th district of Illinois. If they do, please vote for Cat Abogazale. It's the longest name on the ballot. It looks like abracadabra. You don't even have to say it right. Nobody does. It's fine. She's the strongest person in the world. She's under federal indictment for protesting ICE. She's been deposed by Elon Musk. She is pissed off all the right people, and she will fight for real for better outcome for everybody. So if you know anybody there, please, for the love of God, vote for her. It'll be really. I've never been prouder of a person in my life. So those are my 2 plugs.
I just wanted to thank you for being here, and thank you for using your white guy confidence for good.
I really appreciate that, and it's great. It's not hard. White guys of the world, stop
You
it.
have nothing to
Fucking
lose.
stop it.
You have nothing to lose, and by that I mean no one will ever ding you for anything. So
You'll fucking fail right up. So just try to do a nice thing. God damn it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.